All right, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is going to be an educational video. It's not going to be based off the journey into Satanism or any just normal blog type videos. And I think that this is something that eludes a lot of individuals, but at the same time, it kind of intrigues them. But they don't really delve into the aspects that I'm about to get into. Now, what is the creed? What is the witch's creed or the witch's pyramid? The witch's creed is an oath that a sorcerer or sorceress takes on. No matter if you're a witch, warlock, sorcerer, sage, mage, or even a wizard, even a necromancer, it doesn't matter. It is your personal oath that you have taken. Okay. Now, one of the things that this takes into consideration is the four main keys: to know, to dare, to will, and to keep secret. A lot of people go to this point, but they don't really go beyond it. And that is actually the fifth element right there: to go. Okay. And what's interesting to note here is that the five key points of a pentagram, and this is what most people know. Okay. They see a pentagram with the five elements, or the of fire, earth, water, air, and spirit. But they don't really delve into the full extent of what it means to have these bases. To go into this, you really need to have a firm understanding. And to think about this, I want you to picture something. Think of how you would create a tree. Okay, how do you plant a tree? Okay, the tree is only as good as its base. Okay, the taller the tree, the more powerful the base is. It's always thicker at the bottom than it is at the top. Okay, and this is where the triangle comes into play. And I've spoken on this in a couple other videos of triangles and how they relate within a geometric shapes, and especially in occultism and ritualized ceremonies or just plain rituals in general. But here we're going to actually see the four main walls and how all five of these go together. Okay, so when you think of the creed, the witch's creed, you want all four, the main four: earth, air, fire, water. Okay, these are the four main elements at the very base, with the very point at the top being spirit. Okay, now you can go underneath Google and literally look this stuff up. You can look at the photos and get a general idea of what I'm saying. And what you really need to understand here is this: when you look at just one wall, okay, let's say for an example, we go into the elements. Okay, to know would be air, to will would be fire, to dare would be earth, to keep silent would be water, and to go would be spirit. Okay, now when we think of it this way, let's go with to know. What is to know mean? What does it mean to actually know? Okay, to know is to have some form of imagination. Okay, When you look at, say, for example, the utilization of your third eye, or perhaps chakras, okay? Your Kundalini, your Ka, your Chi, okay? When they tell you, a lot of books will teach you on, how should I say this? Picturing a disc spinning at a certain frequency or color, okay? This is kind of like utilizing the imagination. And each time you utilize your imagination, the more clearly you're able to view the things. In the temple of shamanic witchcraft by Christopher Penziak, he gives a clear visual meditation that allows you to picture a screen, kind of like a screen door, a net that you have to push through. You have, and this literally goes into the next phase or the next wall, which would be to will. So you have to not only picture it, but you have to will it. Okay, you have to push beyond it, to go beyond it. All right. Now, by doing that, you're daring to pursue. You're daring to go beyond. You're daring to seek that higher knowledge, that higher wisdom. Now, in this book, Christopher Penziak literally discusses visualization, the imagination, the willingness to pursue and to enter into a hey Joseph, what's going on, man? Cool. What kind of ritual are you getting into? Is it the one that we were discussing last night? But anyways, to continue on here, to see a tree and to look down that tree and see that opening, to will yourself to go into that tree, and then seeing the staircase in a spiral going up. Okay, and you'll go into what is known as the spiritual altar room type thing. Yeah, cool. Hopefully, this time you get a lot of answers and stuff that you're seeking. I'll probably be in my altar room later tonight for a little bit. But anyways, but yeah, the visualization, the willingness, and to dare to go beyond it. So when we think of this, this will be the first three walls going up this pyramid. And each level has its own challenges. Each level has its own awareness that you have to work towards. It's not just doing something part way. You actually have to follow through with it. Okay. And I'm going to be sharing a couple materials outside of the book that I've already mentioned. And we're getting into the spiritual aspects. So when we look at the fourth wall of to keep secret or to keep silent, this befalls two aspects. The first aspect is to aid someone. For example, if you have a client that comes to you and is seeking to be healed or seeking some form of ritual, like say a cleansing or how should I say this? Let's go with let's just go with healing and cleansing. Okay, just by stating that you're going to do that for them, that's basically doing 50% of the work. Okay, because even though they doubt it, or they have a tendency to disbelieve, on a subconscious level, it's right there. It's in their brain already. It's on their mind. The seed has taken root. So therefore, 50% of your work is already done. It's just a matter of following through with what is asked of you. The second aspect is the protection. Okay. Now, a lot of people forget about the protection aspects. And I know Bafim X here would actually fill in a lot of blanks on this as well, along with those of us who have been in this for years. But when we look at this, the protection aspect is to protect us from criminal criminal charges, the legal system, to protect us from enemies who would want to bring us down. So we don't really share all our secrets. We don't really share all our knowledge, our gnosis. When we think about this, look at, for an example, think of the angel Zaniel. In the book of Abraham, the grimoire of Armadale, for an example, or that of the Black Raven, describe Zaniel as being the teacher of witchcraft. But what a lot of people don't know about him is he's very, very hard to get in contact with. And this is the reason. As a parent, okay, you don't want to give too much information to your children. Number one, it would overwhelm them. It would also confuse them. It would also push them into a different direction, either to harm themselves or someone else. Okay? In this case, the demons and the angels are the parents. We, as the practitioners, would be the children. Okay? So, by keeping secret about what we're doing, teaching somebody else, like an apprentice, befalls this aspect. Zaniel is not going to give you anything that is going to put you or somebody else in danger. But most importantly, he wants to make sure that you are ready for the knowledge that he's getting ready to give to you, which means he's going to make you work your ass off to get to that information. Okay? Now, when we look at the witch's pyramid, the two top things that is apparent when practicing or studying and applying this to your life is, number one, the four great rules, and number two, observance of the natural tides. Okay? Think of it as a framework. A framework is something that is put in place because this actually goes into, how should I say this, to go forth and apply everything to your life. Okay? And this is the fifth aspect, the point. In ritual, you can use that's actually a good thing. But it's also a good thing to actually go back and view everything to see what you have done wrong, what works and what doesn't, but also it's a good way but it's also a good way to view something, of what you can take notes of to make things better. One of the things that I recommend is keeping a journal. Okay. A journal, it would help if I actually put it right side up. A magical journal is something that you can utilize to take notes, apply your knowledge, and kind of like a refresher course, if you wish. For an example, in this case, what I would do would be to draw the pyramid, make it into 3D. So you have all four at the base, and then the fifth one up at the top, and kind of just mark things down as to know, to will, to dare, to keep silent, and to go. The five main keys. But I would also kind of explain it out a little bit to show you what there we go. Yeah, that I agree with. Sometimes when I do videos, especially if I'm not doing a live video, I have to really do it at least 3 or 4 times before I get it right. Because sometimes when I'm doing a video that I'm just going to upload, instead of actually do like this one, it would be, I get about a quarter of the way through, and all of a sudden it's like, I should have said this back here, and then I have to go back and redo it because it's something you think of after the fact. And that's one of the things about journals that come in handy is you can actually read down through a journal. Like this one here, for an example, is a brand new journal. I'm going to be consecrating this and the other one that I picked up just the other day, the day before yesterday, and consecrate it specifically for ritual writing. Thank you. Yeah, this one here I kept in the car for a while, but it's kind of gotten a little dirty and a little, well, let's just say because somebody has a tendency to take it off the rearview mirror and put it down into the cup holders, it ended up getting a little sticky and everything. So I had to wash it and cleanse it. So now I'm just going to wear it. Looks better on me than on the car. But yeah. So yeah, the one I was referring to just flipped me off. Yes, that's right. She gave me the birdie. But anyways, but yeah, looking at the Witch's Creed from a pentacle point of view, the pentagram viewpoint is more of a two-dimensional outlook. When you break it down into a four or a three-dimensional or even a four-dimensional aspect, you get a much wider perspective of just that and what it entails. So, I mean, when you get into rituals, you really want to be able to utilize the same creed, the same pyramid structure of to know, which means to imagine it. When you get into a magical circle, say the circle of empowerment, take a couple moments to collect your thoughts, breathe. As you're focusing on your breathing in through the nose and out through your mouth, envision all that negative energy or that unwanted energy dissipating. And as you breathe in, you're collecting all that positive energy. Okay. And while you're doing this, you're gaining a lot of how should I say this? A lot of your oxygenating your blood. Okay, and this is where blood sorcery actually comes in because of the fact that magnetic structure, such as your equilibrium or your electrodes, begin to supercharge. Okay, and they move through you a lot better. It allows you to open up your arteries, your blood vessels, no, and expand your mind, and it helps you focus. So when you end up focusing, you begin to see it. You begin to see. Damn cat. Oh, she's gonna get into anything. But anyways, uh, you end up seeing what you're doing, especially when you end up focusing on a candle, or even getting into the incense smoke, be it the raisin, charcoal, you know, incense sticks, whatever. Have fun at work. So you're gonna see a lot of things. You're gonna be able to focus on it and look beyond, especially when you're in a section where it's super warm. Okay. I'm constantly told that my altar room, for an example, is like a sauna. Okay. Constantly, she says. But yeah, so it's very, very hot. And it's the way I like it because it feels natural. But it's also a nexus. And this is basically to dare to go into this formality. You're going into this state of higher awareness, being able to shift back and forth between consciousness and subconscious, going between normal brain levels, going into what is called the alpha state of mind. Okay, connecting to your higher conscious, your higher self. Okay, and this is something that applies heavily within the witch's creed or the witch's pyramid because all this stuff is going right into rituals. It's going into meditation. It's going into your very day-to-day lives of practice. It doesn't matter if it's ritual or work. Same thing applies. You want to keep secret what you're doing because if you don't, an enemy can take your work and misuse it, or end up harming themselves or somebody else, or you end up getting in trouble with the legal system. Now, I've seen where people have gone after occultists and Satanists because of the fact that if they wear something like this, they're obviously committing some form of crime. Down in Texas, the ass end of the Bible Belt, I was once told that this specific gentleman who worked for the town hall stated that he knows what a Satanist is and what they do. They're associated with criminal activities, or they're associated with prostitution rings, yada yada yada. They're there to desecrate churches, graveyards, whatever. Okay, but if he had actually done his homework, he would know that it is a philosophy, and that by working with spirits, be it demons, angels, and knowledge, to better yourself. Okay, and this is something that this gentleman did not know, and that is why that area of Texas got fined very, very heavily. We're talking a county that was already 85% on welfare. Okay, due to their negligence, their ignorance, and the crimes that they committed, just because a Satanist was there and had made themselves known, the American Civil Liberties Union was notified along with the Department of Justice. The Roman Catholic minister, the bishop, was removed from his parish. Okay. This is how bad that situation got. They threatened to burn down the house that the individual was living in. They made rumors about this individual and why the individual was there without actually getting to know the individual or the intent of why that individual was there. Okay. So, this is one of the reasons you want to keep silent. Okay. But you also want to make sure that your own ritual dealings does not land you in hot water with the legal system because of the fact that on YouTube, even on Facebook, I've received videos from people who are committing animal sacrifices. I've received videos of individuals committing some form of grievance. Like earlier today, a gentleman actually sent me a friend request on Facebook and said he believed so heartily in what I was doing that he didn't realize that he didn't really fully comprehend what Satanism is or what black magic is. And he wanted to go off and kill people. I denied his friend request based off that because this individual was clearly unstable and didn't have his head in the right area. He had no clue about what he was talking about. And black magic mixed in with the witch's creed allows you that perspective. To know is to imagine. To dare is to go forth. To pursue. To will is to gain. To keep secret is power. Okay? But to go forth and apply everything, that is something that is unique. It creates wisdom, power, and knowledge. And as Anton Szandor LaVey once put it, power is undefiled wisdom. Okay? You have to have wisdom before you have understanding, and understanding before you have knowledge. Now, what's interesting to note is that I've come across very few individuals, practitioners, and authors who have actually discussed the Witch's Creed in depth from their own unique perspectives. And I'm going to show you a couple of these. Now, I've already told you about Christopher Penziak's viewpoint. Raymond Buckland, in the Complete Book of Witchcraft, is a Wiccan practice. Okay, he's a Wiccan practitioner. And what's interesting to note about his perspective is he breaks it down into a threefold category of applying. He didn't go into details, like in depth, of what it can be used for. Not like I'm doing here. But he does put it forth in a manner that, well, one doesn't want to say British and stuffy, but if the shoe fits, wear it. But he's very knowledgeable. He puts it forth of kind of like a history perspective of how it comes into play and why it's put in play. Whereas, say for an example, Raven Silverwolf, for an example, and the Book of Shadows for the New Generation Solitary Witch, which is the ultimate Book of Shadows, I should say, for the New Generation Solitary Witch. She breaks it down into a lot of, how should I say this? Almost like she only puts a small paragraph for all 5 of these little categories. She doesn't really go into detail. She doesn't go into depth but she applies it with the oath, the promise. Okay. For an example, to know means that you will strive to learn as much as you can in this lifetime, and that you will apply this knowledge to your daily life. It also means that you will seek truth in all things and will be willing to change your perspective to meet your awakening spirituality. Okay. That's just a small taste. That was just on to know. Okay. And it's the same size paragraph for each one. Now, she also goes in, like I said, this is about three-fourths of a page to, she goes into, from there, into what is known as the witch's pyramid meditation. And again, she uses the pentagram, not the actual pyramid structure. Okay. And this is what I really I want to get into here, is because a lot of people only teach from the pentagram. They don't get into the structure of a pyramid setting. And yeah, that's actually a very good thing, is to be careful about that. And from there, it goes into the ritual of the Sphinx. But before the witch's pyramid, you have the witch's creed, and she actually gives you from the seasons, the equinoxes and the solstices and stuff like that. You know, the four changing seasons, and goes into the actual promise before she gets into the witch's pyramid, and then goes into the witch's um, meditation. Okay, now this next book is the one that really spoke to me when I first got into the Witch's Creed and started delving into it. And as of late, I've really gone back to that structure, and it's really been on my mind a lot lately. So I went to my bookshelf, you know, in my personal library, and I pulled this off the shelf and I started reading it. And currently, I am on chapter one, and it starts on page 22, but you can actually go back further to page 19. The powers in their attainment. Okay. And this author here, I happen to be friends with him on Facebook. I have several of his books. And not only does he have a way with words, but he literally sticks close to the ancient ways, the old ways from like the dark ages. That's how far back his wisdom goes. And he puts you in that thought form. You know, he literally places you, like he just plucked you up from your living room and took you back in time to that era. Okay. That's this guy's perspective on the Witch's Creed and in his writing, not just in that, but on witchcraft in general. His book, The Necromancers, is very good. It's the details and the the visual aspects, the components of his words, and how he places you in that setting of these short stories from sorcerers in past tense literally is inspiring. It grabs your attention, especially if you're a historian, if you're heavily into how should I say this, mythology, if you're into the heavily into the arts like myself. I mean, I'm so heavily into it. You know, my son's mother literally told me once, "I wish you were a Christian," and it's like, no. But hey, Jonathan Walker, How you doing, man? But yeah, it's kind of funny being a career black magician and you're living with a Baptist. Okay. Yeah, we had a son together, and what's funny is, we get along great. It's just, she wishes I'd cut my hair, and I poke fun at Samson, from the Book of Judges. A little bit of blasphemy there. But anyways, yeah, I mean, she wishes I was a Christian, and it's like, no, not just no, but hell no. I like who I am. But anyways, this book here is called Mastering Witchcraft: A Practical Guide for Witches, Warlocks, and Covens. And it's by Paul Huzon. And it looks like this. Okay, you can get this off Amazon, eBay. Um, I recommend all his books to you because of the fact he's that good of a writer. He's actually one of my favorite types of writers because he's neutral based. He's not sitting there telling you, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. No, he's actually taking you away from that biasness, out of that adversities, and out of those divisions, and actually placing you down in a mutual respective manner and saying, this is what witchcraft is. This is how you get into it. All right. Um, this video will be here if you want to come back. I'm almost done as well, so I'm wrapping up as we speak, anyways. So you're not going to be missing much. But I hope this has been intellectual and enlightening for you, Joseph. So, but anyways, as I was saying, he literally does it from a neutral based. You're welcome. And I actually brought a page out here because I want you to see it. This is actually some of my notes here, and I want to see if I can't get this thing right here. You notice the 3D structure versus the pyramid, or the pentacle versus the pyramid. You get a lot more visual with that. But yeah, it's you really got to know to how should I say this? The way Paul Huzon puts it is to know equals a variant imagination, a fluent imagination, I guess you can call it, a will of fire to dare, rock hard faith to go, and a flair for sorcery to keep, or secrecy to keep silent. And I mean, you compare this to the elements, you compare it to so many different aspects, and it's like, damn, you know, you just keep learning new things every time you go back to it. So I really think that instead of me, going into all the details of what I've studied and how to break it down, I think by giving you these sources and giving you a little taste of what I've learned and why the Witch's Creed and the Witch's Pyramid are so important to any form of sorcery, you can actually go out and get it yourself and do your own research, tear it down, go into other sources, go into other religions, other faiths, and literally bear it down. You know what I'm saying? Bear down, grind down, have the faith, have the heart, you know, get the courage and just go for it. That is that, in my opinion, is actually a lot better than to sit here and give you note word for word, note for note of what I've studied and what I've gone into. I've given you the witches perspective. I've given you the Wiccan's perspective, or the Wicca perspective. And you can also go into, say, for an example, blood sorcery. You can go into necromancy. You can go into Satanism. You're going to see the same creed in just about every religion, plain and simple. And when it comes to sacrifices, we're not talking animal or human sacrifice. Even though these things have taken place worldwide and continue to be and continue to be played out even today in modern day, which is why the Witch's Creed is very, very important. Okay. For an example, a prime example of why you want to keep secret, you take me for an example. I started out as a Satanist, okay, before going into other aspects of sorcery. In this case, my son's mother, her family, took hindrance towards it. And they've been trying to get me out of her life since. But yet, I have, no matter what they've done, she has always stayed by my side because I have been true to everything that I've done. When I give my word, I don't give it lightly. And I don't make promises that I cannot keep. Okay. And this also is a part of the Witch's Creed, the Witch's Pyramid. Okay. The nine noble virtues plays a huge part. So when you start studying that pyramid structure, start at the base and work your way up to the tip. Remember this though, when the tip is up, you're dealing with the phallus, the masculine, the sun god, be it Ra in Egyptian, Inti in Inca, Apollo in Roman, or Greek rather. Okay. Or you can go into Norse, you can go into Germanic, Welsh, whatever. You're going to see the same sun gods, the mythology of it, versus the feminine structure, the Venus versus, or the moon aspects, be it Supe, be it Ariskagal, Inanna, Tiamat, Hera, Hecate, Isis, Frey, Hell. You're going to see the same thing. When the pyramid point is down, it is known as the vulva, the female archetype. So when you look at the Witch's Creed, no matter what it is, whatever direction it is, the same things will apply. Just like a pentagram versus an inverted pentagram. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right? Now I'm going to end this video on this note because I want you to think about what was said. I want you to think about the Witch's Pyramid. I want you to versus the pentagram version. I want you to think about the sources. I want you to do your own research and make up your own mind. That is why this is an educational video. Okay? So with that said, I hope it's been intellectual. Hope it's been enlightening. You could always ask questions either here or on Facebook, doesn't matter which. Feel free to message me. I will always reply. It may take a little bit due to my life, my family life, my job, and everything like that. But I will reply. Okay? So be patient, and I will reply to you. All right? This Dark Sorcerer is out. Have a good night.